The 2025 fantasy football season is over. We had some laughs. We had some lows. We had some highs. We had some cries. Bars? But regardless of how your season went, we have some awards to give out, brother, okay? I'm talking waiver wire pickup of the year. I'm talking biggest bust. So many awards that will be leading up to the fantasy MVP at the very end of the video. And spoiler alert, it's not Nick Chubb. So grab a snack, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and suit up, because it's time to give out some awards, brother. All right, so before we can start talking about the good, I think we got to start off with the bad, aka the bust of the year. Now, when choosing the Bust of the Year award, we can't be lazy and just pick a simple cop-out kind of answer with a player that just got injured. I'm talking Malik Neighbors. I'm talking Tyreek Hill. I'm talking James Conner. No, we had to have some class and pick a player that was pretty much healthy the entire season, but was so bad that you practically were preying on them to get injured so you wouldn't have to start them anymore. I'm talking players like Marvin Harrison Jr. Good God, get this bum off my team right now. Players like Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, that bum who you drafted in the second round and was giving you production similar to 2025 Cooper Kupp. But there was one man, one player that was even more painful to have on your fantasy team this year than a Marvin Harrison, than a Brian Thomas Jr. It is a man who was a unanimous first round pick. Okay, I don't care what kind of league you're in. He was drafted in your first round. Don't lie to me. But this man was so bad, was crippling your fantasy team so much, but you couldn't bench him. He's your first round pick. Ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about the one, the only, Mr. Quarterback Proof My Ass, Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson is the bust of the year. It was a very close race, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to players who you drafted with high draft capital, it doesn't get higher than the first round. And as we all know as fellow ball knowers, it wasn't Jefferson's fault, right? It was a quarterback problem. It was JJ McFartney stinking up the joint. It was Max Brosmer who left his lunch break out Walmart to go play on an NFL team. Who let that happen? But even though it was a quarterback problem and not Jefferson's fault, that's not a me problem, brother. That's not a problem that I want on my fantasy team. And that's what's making Justin Jefferson the 2025 bust of the year. Our next award, we have Fantasy Performance of the Year. And you best believe I have these written down because, oh my God, these are some big numbers. We have the Kyle Pitts 40 bomb in week 15. If a player drops me 40 points in the first week of the playoffs, I'm not only buying their jersey, I'm pouring honey on them. Head to toe, cheek to cheek, that man is being covered in honey, okay? Via me. We have this throwback from Trey Tucker. In week 3, he dropped 37 points. Y'all remember that? I don't really. I mean, Trey Tucker, the Raiders, who cares? But we do care about Jahmyr Gibbs and the 49 points he dropped in week 12. Do you remember that, bro? Did you get Jahmyr Gibbs in week 12? Because I did. And it was not fun. We have Trevor Lawrence's 44-point performance in week 15. We also can't forget about Jonathan Taylor's 47-point bomb overseas. Y'all remember that, bro? Waking up to the game, you're like, this game's an international game? Damn, what's the score? Oh, Jonathan Taylor has 47 points against me in fantasy. Yeah, I'm going to go back to bed. And finishing us off, pause, we have Josh Allen's 42 bomb in week 11. But the Fantasy Performance of the Year award goes to a man who's not a man, he's a king. A king who puts up 45 points in the fantasy championship, who literally single-handedly hand delivers to you on a silver platter the fantasy championship. Of course, I'm talking about the king, the one, the only, Derrick Henry, baby. Anytime a player puts up 40 points for you and wins you your week single-handedly, that's amazing. But when that player does it in the most important week of the whole entire season for all the marbles, for all the chips, yeah, I'm going to kiss that dude. Congratulations, brother. Your trophy's in the mail. Our next award, the Fantasy Steal of the Draft. Now, when it comes to the Fantasy Steal of the Year award, I'm talking about players that you were dumpster diving for, brother, okay? You know, JSN is definitely a nominee, but he was still taken in the third round, right? That's pretty high draft capital. I'm talking about players that you had to pull up your socks for and get nasty with it, okay? I'm talking about players like Travis Etienne, who probably was drafted in the 6th round at the very earliest, 7th, 8th, 9th, most likely. Do I have a lisp? I'm talking about players like Travis Etienne's quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, where you probably didn't draft him, let's be honest, but maybe you did in the late rounds. An absolute steal, especially in the playoffs. But no, the Fantasy Steal Award of this year has to come to a running back who was drafted at the very earliest, 9th, 10th round, and later than that. I'm talking about a guy who no one really had any expectations for. There was some buzz. Maybe he'll be decent. He's on a better team this year, but he's always been injured, and I can't see the potential. Oh my God, brother. You were wrong. Get out of here. I'm talking about Cowboys' own Javonte Williams. But yeah, to get Javonte Williams, who was a legitimate running back one in the 10th round or later, an absolute steal. Congratulations, Javonte. I wish I drafted you. Our next award, the Fantasy Breakout of the Year. Now, when it comes to a fantasy breakout, I'm thinking about players who we already knew were decent, right? They showed some flashes in the pan, but this year, they took it to 101, brother. I'm talking, whoa. Where did this guy come from? An example of a breakthrough player, one of our nominees, Drake May, who came out of nowhere, right? We knew that he had potential, but this year, oh my goodness, brother, took it to the stars and then some. Another name for a possible breakout winner is Javonte Williams, who we knew was talented, right? But the winner of this year's 2025 Fantasy Breakout Player of the Year is a player who we already knew was pretty good, right? He showed some flashes. We knew he wasn't a bum. But this year, oh my goodness, brother, strap in the seatbelt. This guy is taking you to the moon. I'm talking about everyone's sweet prince, Jackson Smith-Njigba. JSN finished as the number 2 receiver on the year, putting up absolute video game numbers. If you look at his game log, I mean, the guy finished with 1 week in single digits. Every other week, at least minimum 10 points. JSN went crazy this year. Just insane efficiency, man. Just absolute, just chef's kiss to everyone involved with making that man a star, and he's been the breakout player of the year and will probably even go further next year. Moving on to our next award, we have the Fantasy Rookie of the Year. Now, there were some pretty good rookies. I'm not gonna lie, chat. The rookies were good this year. I mean, we had Ashton Genty, who, yes, he was mid, especially for a round 1 pick, but still, he had some good games and definitely wasn't the worst of the worst. You also had Cam Scadaboo, who was on a Linsanity run before his ankle, snapped in half. You had Emeka Egbuka, who was lighting the world on fire the first half of the season before he fell off the face of the earth. You also have Travion Henderson with multiple 30 bombs. I mean, yeah, I'll take that, dude. I'll take that. You also have Jackson Dart, but that leaves us to my 2 top candidates for Rookie of the Year, and it's honestly tough to pick, man. I have personally Ted McMillan and RJ Harvey, who Ted McMillan, yes, he finished as like a top 15 wide receiver, but man, did he stink up the joint in the playoffs. I mean, I'm talking about when you need a guy most. Bro, 1 point in championship week. Yikes. And then you have RJ Harvey, who finished as a top 20 running back. Yeah, he started off slow as hell, but man, he came in clutch, especially in the playoffs. And because of this dilemma, I will refer to the numbers, the statistics, the overall placing of these players. The man who is 10 spots ahead in the overall rankings, Mr. from the Denver Broncos, RJ Harvey. Now, if you want to boo me and throw tomatoes at me and blow up my house, I understand, okay? Both are very close, but I'm going to give it to RJ Harvey because he finished 10 spots higher in the overall player ranking. So congrats, RJ. Your award's in the mail, brother. Our next award, we have the Waiver Wire Pickup of the Year. Now, call me crazy, but I feel like there really was no waiver wire pick of the year. I mean, we have a winner. We have a winner. We had to pick a winner. But there was no Puka Nacua. There was no Kyron Williams. There was no player that was like, oh my God, it's definitely that guy. I feel like we had to kind of settle for one, even though he was good. You could say Rico Dowdle, and I agree. He's probably the second place runner up, but it's Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson of the Cardinals, the wide receiver, 1 on the team. Marvin Harrison, who? Leave the facility, brother. But yeah, Michael Wilson stepped in when Harrison got hurt, put up double-digit weeks so many times for you, scored touchdowns, was great in the playoffs. And yeah, you could say Trevor Lawrence, but let's be honest, Michael Wilson was better in clears, Trevor Lawrence, any day of the week. Our next award, the Fantasy Quarterback of the Year. Now, let me know in the comments below, but didn't it feel like quarterbacks were scoring a lot less this year? There didn't really feel like there was any elite quarterbacks. Yeah, Josh Allen was still Josh Allen, but he didn't really Josh Allen like he normally does, right? But our nominees for Fantasy Quarterback of the Year are Dak Prescott of the Cowboys, who, Dak kind of did his thing, bro. Dak was a legit top 5 quarterback. He was absolutely slinging the ball in that awesome offense. And compared to his standards, Dak had an amazing year. Another nominee, Drake May, who was amazing, right, throughout the whole season. He didn't have the ceiling really as our winner, but Drake May was consistently good throughout the whole year. But yes, our winner, as I just hinted to, the quarterback of the year, to no one's surprise, Mr. Josh Allen. Josh Allen, to no one's surprise, is the best quarterback in fantasy. It happens every year. I will say, though, this year felt like a little bit of less scoring from him. Like, I didn't feel like we saw that crazy cheat code Josh Allen this year, but still, he had a 40-point performance, absolutely consistent mostly every week. He had some duds, but still, I'm talking about the quarterback that you can always trust the most in fantasy no matter what. It's Josh Allen, baby. Next up, the fantasy running back of the year. Now, this is tough because as we've seen in fantasy for the last 2 years, I want to say, it's been the running back show, right? It was the wide receiver show a couple years ago, but the running backs have reclaimed the throne, and it's all about the running backs now. We had some amazing running backs this year. I'm talking league winners, absolute roster staples. I'm talking Bijan Robinson. I'm talking Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm talking Devon Achane, baby. Oh my goodness gracious. I love that man. I'm talking about Jonathan Taylor, who was literally just an absolute menace for the first half of the season. And I'm also talking about James Cook, who, oh my God, bro. Can that guy get any better? No, he can't. But there is one running back who was even better than those guys. The most consistent, safest, and I dare say, one of the highest upsides in all of fantasy football. One of the best players to ever play the game of football and fantasy. Mr. My goat, my sweet prince, my Pookie Bear, my honey bear, my love, Christian McCaffrey. Bro, he is a literal wide receiver who plays running back and gets the goal line work. What else could you ask for? He's a literal cheat code, bro. I mean, the man averaged 22 points per game. I mean, that's better than most quarterbacks. Just absolutely amazing. And this leads us into our next award. I'm just going to go back-to-back winners, CMC, for Comeback Player of the Year. There wasn't really too many nominees that I was like, oh yeah, this guy's Comeback Player of the Year. I mean, you have Javonte, who's been injured up and down, but, you know, not as good as CMC. You got Trevor Lawrence, who, I mean, what does he come back from? Being mid? That doesn't really count. You got Dak Prescott, who legit came from that brutal hamstring injury and has been amazing. But when it comes to absolute fantasy dominance, CMC takes the cake, and it's really not even close. From that man to go from 2 games in a season to he played the full season. He didn't miss a single game, bro. And he had, what, like 2 single-digit performances? I mean, it's as good as it gets. It's as good as it gets, bro. It's like a 5'2" Latina. I can't get any better than this, bro. But yes, congrats to my GOAT, Christian McCaffrey, on the Comeback Player of the Year award, too. Next up, Fantasy Wide Receiver of the Year. Now, this one, oof. There's 2 guys that come to mind when it comes to Fantasy Receiver of the Year. It's Puka Nacua and Jackson Smith-Njigba. You could also say it's some of the nominees like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was amazing, George Pickens, hello, that's beautiful. But when it comes to 2 dominant elite wide receivers, the 2 of the best, it's got to be those 2, right? JSN, Puka Nacua. JSN was the wide receiver 2 on the year, but Puka Nacua, as we all know, the wide receiver 1, the man with like the safest, I mean, Puka's floor, bro, is insane. It's like 15 points. Besides CMC, I can't think of a more safer player who has such a high floor. It's insane. And his ceiling, oh my God. How does a 40 bomb sound to you? Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. I'll take that. Thank you very much. But yeah, Puka was absolutely amazing as always. He only missed, what, 1 game? I mean, it's just, what else could you ask for in an absolute elite wide receiver? Puka might be the 101 next year. It's insane. The man's yardage, the man's receptions, the volume is insane. The efficiency off the charts. Puka Nacua, congratulations, wide receiver fantasy of the year. Okay, I'm really not going to waste your time with this next award, right? It's the fantasy tight end of the year. I'm not even going to waste a single breath on it. It's Trey McBride, baby, okay? Trey McBride was a literal cheat code. If he was a wide receiver, do you know what he would finish as this year? The wide receiver 4. A tight end would finish as the wide receiver 4. A literal elite wide receiver 1 in your tight end spot is a straight up definition of a cheat code, bro. I mean, once Kyler Murray finally hung it up and moved on to a professional gaming career, I mean, Jacoby Brissett, bro, was feeding families, especially with Trey McBride. The dude was averaging like 17 points per game as a tight end. Just disgusting. But yeah, let's not waste any more time. We all know this. Trey McBride, fantasy tight end of the year. Moving on to our special team awards. We're going to do these 2 in a row. We got fantasy kicker and we got fantasy defense. Fantasy kicker is really between 2 guys, right? We got Brandon Aubrey of the Cowboys and we got Jason Myers of the Seahawks. Now, you can argue, but technically speaking, Jason Myers is the kicker #1, right, in terms of position rank. Even though I do still prefer Brandon Aubrey because that leg is long as hell, we gotta get with Jason Myers, okay? He's had multiple 20-plus point game weeks. So did Brandon Aubrey, but in terms of total point scoring, I'm just going by the numbers, chat. Don't roast me, is Jason Myers. Congratulations. And on the other side, we got defense of the year. It's 3, baby. It's only 3. We got the Broncos, we got the Texans, and we got the Seahawks. But the Seahawks literally could put up more numbers than your wide receiver 1, bro. It was insane. The Texans were great too, sacks machines, so were the Broncos, but the Seahawks literally had multiple 20-point weeks. Like, that is insane coming for your defense, and that's why they're the winner of the defense of the year, baby. Our next award, we have the Fantasy Playoff Hero of the year, Bijan Robinson, who you can literally give the award to and I would have absolutely no problem with. This was so hard to pick. We are splitting hairs right here. Week 15, 25 points. Week 16, 26 points. Week 17, 37.4. I mean, damn. We have Brock Purdy, okay? No longer Brock Purdy in the playoffs. Absolute QB1 numbers back-to-back-to-back weeks. Yeah, that will do. I will not let us disrespect Chase Brown, who went crazy and put up insane numbers in the playoffs and into the championship. I mean, 30 bombs? Yeah, I think I like that. We can't forget about Trevor Lawrence, who put up a 44-burger in Week 15 and then did amazing in the rest of the way there. 31 points against Denver in Week 16, 23 against the Colts. Another Week 15 hero, Mr. 101 himself, Kyle Pitts, who dropped a 40-burger in Week 15 and then 15 points in Week 16. Do not look at Week 17, thank you. And also Chris Olave, who was the #6 receiver on the year. Where did that come from? But yeah, 17 points Week 15, a 31-burger in Week 16, and then 22 points to finish off the championship. Yeah, me gusta. But the winner of the Fantasy Playoff Hero of the Year, it's Derrick Henry. Come on, bro. When a man can single-handedly win you your fantasy championship, yeah, he's getting all of the glaze in the world. But yeah, Derrick Henry in the playoffs, 10 points in Week 15. That's not amazing, but that's not going to kill you. You'll take it. Week 16, how does 20-plus points sound? Yeah, I think I like where this is going. And then Week 17, aka the championship, how does 45.6 points sound? Yeah, I think my nipples are hard. But yeah, Derrick Henry, Performance of the Year and the Fantasy Playoffs Hero of the Year. He was mid as hell for a long time in the beginning of the season, but he came through when you needed him most. Congrats, Derrick, the king. Your awards are in the mail. And that leaves us with one award. The award you've been waiting for the whole video to find out who's the winner. The Fantasy MVP of the 2025 season. Now, when it comes to the Fantasy MVP, you got to think about who is the guy that was irreplaceable. The guy on your team who held the pieces together. Who was the glue? Who was the honey? Who was your Pookie Bear? And when I say that we have some great nominees, trust me, I have some great nominees. I want to give a shout out to someone that probably no one's even considering, but should be, Trey McBride. Okay, Trey McBride was literally goated this year, and that's an understatement, okay? Do you realize that Trey McBride was the number 24 overall player out of all players? Quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, every position ever. The number 24 player. To have that as your tight end and get literally 15 points a game minimum for most of the year, absolute cheat code and MVP consideration. We also have Jonathan Taylor, who for the first half of the season was absolutely terrifying to play against, okay? 3 touchdown games at will, just Thanos snapping the defense. Okay, yeah, I'll take that touchdown. An absolute menace, and yes, we know he kind of fell off the second half, but he was still decent for the most part, right? After Daniel Jones got hurt, really not much you can do with big Phillip Rivers, you know, God bless his soul, but him as your quarterback, I don't expect any 50 bombs like he dropped earlier. But yeah, even though Jonathan Taylor wasn't elite like he was earlier towards the end of the season, he was still amazing and definitely an MVP candidate. You also have to throw Jahmyr Gibbs' name into the hat. I mean, just an absolute stud. Yes, he kind of, you know, really sold you in the playoffs. Like, 4 points, bro, really? 4 points in the championship? No, cool. Cool, awesome, bro. I'll just get second place again. But no, Jahmyr Gibbs was still absolutely amazing this year. Super electric, as always. Touchdowns at will. I mean, you just can't go wrong with Jahmyr Gibbs, and he's definitely be an MVP candidate. Do you have JSN, who, I mean, he is as consistent as it gets, except for our winner. But in terms of consistency and just having a safe floor, JSN, week in, week out, double digits. Also, Puka Nacua, who was literally the wide receiver 1. I mean, insane spike weeks. The floor is insanely high. Just an MVP for so many leagues, right? So many managers where it's like, yeah, Puka is the reason why I made it to the playoffs, period. Bijan Robinson, another nominee for this award. But enough of the yapping, brother, okay? We all know who it is. We all know who the fantasy MVP is. The guy, the man, the myth, the legend, who said, I know I have injury history. Yeah, I know that I'm low-key made of glass, but I don't care, bro. I'm going to power through and get the most touches ever. Don't look that up. And I'm going to power through and play the whole entire season while casually dropping, I don't know, 22 points per game. Yeah, I think that'll do, donkey. The fantasy MVP of the 2025 season, we all know it, baby. Christian McCaffrey. I mean, what can you say about CMC that hasn't been said? I mean, he's just so good, bro. Like I've said earlier, he's a literal wide receiver 1 who also plays running back, who also gets the goal line work. He's also in an elite offense. What do you want, bro? You can't ask for more. You're just being greedy. There is nothing I wouldn't do for this man. Nothing. He's the sunshine that wakes me up in the morning and the moon that kisses me at night before I go to bed. But yeah, that's the fantasy MVP of the 2025 season. Our GOAT, Christian McCaffrey. But that's going to do it for the 2025 Fantasy Football Awards. But yeah, if you liked the video, make sure to leave a like. It really helps out the channel. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already. Turn on the bell for notifications and join our Discord, okay? Hop in the zoo, hop in the community, make some friends. I'm always in there as always. And yeah, I appreciate you all so much for watching. Thank you for watching all my videos, period, but also just specifically for this one. Appreciate y'all so much. Love the zoo. I'll catch y'all later in the next video. Appreciate y'all. Much love. Take care, everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye.